rock crawler, and I am coming to you from Layton, Utah, in search of where is Mr. Krawlzone. If you're a fan like me, Mr. Krawlzone was on Krawlzone TV. Him and nobody would go around to events and different things, showcasing the adrenaline extreme parts of rock crawling, what we all love about off-road. But since then, it's been quiet the last few years, and I've heard that he's working on some new projects, maybe outside of the off-road industry. And I've heard that he was working on animation, so that piqued my interest. So I've been searching for Mr. Krawlzone, and I think I've found him. We're here at Space Station. We're going to go inside and see if we can find him.
Krawlzone!
Yo, hi, welcome. Guess what? I found out where Mr. Krawlzone was. He's at the space station.
That's where I've been hiding. Oh, you found me. Here I am, making cartoons.
Yes.
Can you see that cartoon guy over there? I'll have to bring him over in a minute. Hold on. I need Mr. Sean Duras to join us.
Nice. Hi, Sean.
So that's what I've been doing for the last little while. Instead of joining you guys in the off-road, I've been making that guy
Yes.
and his daughter a cartoon.
And this is a very, very impressive studio here. I got the full tour treatment. I even got to go down the slide. They have a slide here. Very cool. How many places have a slide at work?
Oh, leave that in the comments, because if you got a slide, I want to come.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't know how long you've been in the rock crawling scene, but if you've been around for the last couple decades, and I want to say that you're probably familiar with Krawlzone TV. I was a big fan of Krawlzone TV. I was a big fan of Mr. Krawlzone. I was a big fan of Nobody. I was a fan of the whole show. So in finding out where Mr. Krawlzone was at, we're going to talk about what's going on at the space station, talk about some memories of Krawlzone TV, and looking towards the future, where are we going next? So stay tuned, and we're going to get right into it. So, Nathan, tell me a little bit about what is Space Station and what all do you guys make here?
So the space station is a creator hub. Everything revolves around YouTube and creator economy. So we've got, I think, 6 different YouTube channels that we run, including Best Day Ever, A for Adley, and the Space Station animation channel, amongst others. We also have an esports organization. We've got a games division. We've got an investments division, and we've got a group that deals with connecting creators with businesses to make brand deals. So if it's creator-centric or part of the creator economy, that's what we deal with at the space station. And so my biggest job, I came on, coming on 5 years ago. I was invited to come help build the animation studio. So Sean Duras, he had the A for Adley YouTube channel and stuff with his kids, and they were really doing well. But he realized at some point, maybe his daughter may not want to always do YouTube videos. And so he's like, how do I keep that brand alive? And so we decided to do that through animation. So for the last almost 5 years, we've been building a very forward-thinking animation studio for the creator economy that uses my background in video games, using game technology to be able to animate faster, to be able to get stuff out quicker. So
Very cool.
that's what we do here at the space station.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And you mentioned it just there at the end. Those who are not familiar, tell me a little bit about your video game history and your background there.
Okay, so even when I was doing Krawlzone, my day job that allowed me to go do all that fun stuff was that I worked for a game studio here in the Salt Lake Valley called WildWorks. And when I first got there, my first game was Pac-Man World Rally. We were the first ones. In fact, I have the claim of modeling the very first successful Charlie Brown and Snoopy for Snoopy versus the Red Baron. And then worked on Animal Jam. So Animal Jam was kind of our big project that I worked on last. And it got to be, in 2015, it was the number 5 most popular game in the entire world. It was up there with Minecraft. And then it petered out. Yeah. And but then anyway, I had the opportunity to come over here and be able to take all that background and apply it to narrative storytelling on YouTube.
Very, very cool. That sounds like a lot of fun. So I ask everybody this. We're going to touch on what the spark was for Krawlzone, but I always ask people just as a preface to that, like, I understand that you grew up in Kanab.
I did.
And what was it? What got you into off-road per se?
Well, you know, when you're in a small town that's full of red rocks, you just go out as often as you can. And now I didn't have anything four-wheel drive. I had a 1963 Plymouth Valiant, and that went on roads it should never go on. Well, we had a good time out there. And then eventually, the Krawlzone co-host and my best buddy, John Jacobs, he got four-wheel drive trucks. And so we were always out there just bombing in the hills, having a good time, exploring. And the cool thing about Kanab is there's a lot of history in addition to off-road. There was a lot of movie history, a lot of Montezuma treasure history. So we were always out looking for something fun. And so I had a good time there. And so, yeah, that's where I got that love for the red rocks. That's why I love getting out to Sand Hollow, because of the red rocks. And that really was the seed for a lot of what we did.
Very cool. Yeah, there's a rich film history in southern Utah, eastern Utah. I mean, up here as well, and there's different spots, and you know, they've done a lot of film in Park City. But the thing that surprised me a lot when I learned of it, it's been a long time since I've known about it, but when I first learned about all the filming that's happened in southern Utah, eastern Utah, like when I went out to what's it called, Castle Valley and stuff like that. It's amazing. Like, oh, I seen that in the movie.
Well, and it was great because the southern Utah became Hollywood's backlot for a long time, and it was started clear back with the Perry brothers. And so in Kanab, there's the Perry's Lodge that they built to be the place that would house when movies would start coming. And the filmmakers loved coming. They loved the Coral Pink Sand Dunes because the sand in California would just blow out in the picture. But the Coral Pink Sand Dunes, when they would film it, it didn't blow out, and it made a great picture. Plus, of course, if you've seen anywhere in southern Utah, it's just picturesque everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And so Hollywood just loved to come. It was only a few hours away, really. And so, yeah, it became really popular. And, you know, you can go and find all those fun places that you remember from a movie.
Exactly. The one, there's that, they have a museum over in outside of Moab. That's actually where me and my wife got married at. It's along the river, about 30 miles outside, and as you're going out towards Colorado.
Oh, right.
I don't know why I can't place it right now. It's probably because that's not what I'm thinking about right now. But most of you probably know what I'm talking about. So what was the spark that started Krawlzone TV? Let's talk about that.
All right, that's a silly story because I'm a creator before the term creator was popular. I was into acting. Because being in Little Hollywood, right? I was kind of pissed that the age of John Wayne was over and I missed out on it. And so because of that, I'm like, I'm going to get into this. And you did a lot of shows, got into acting, and then I got into independent filmmaking. And of course, this is like pre-YouTube, right? So like there's no YouTube to start posting on. I couldn't be a creator there, but I'm like, I'm going to start making movies. And so I was running around with a camera, and people used to ask me all the time, hey, I got an idea for a movie. Hey, I got an idea. And I'm like, you and everybody has an idea for a movie. And so John Jacobs, my best buddy, he called me up. He says, hey, I've got an idea. And I'm like, you and everybody's got an idea. And I'm trying to do a Western. I'm like, I'm going to do a Western. But he's like, no, hear me out. He says, me and our friend Vic Bunnis, we've started doing some rock crawling competitions, and it is cool. And we think that this could be something that could rival some of these television shows that have high energy, build a lot of community. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay. I love getting out in the outdoors, so let's think about it. And so we started doing some research, and I'm like, dang, there is a huge off-road community that probably would just eat this stuff up. So really the spark for Krawlzone came from John Jacobs, who is nobody on the show. And so, yeah, he called me up and said, hey, let's do this thing. And so they were doing the stuff. I was running around as a camera guy, just capturing everything. And Krawlzone was born.
Very cool. Yeah, the one thing I do remember is, one of the things I remember is those big cameras you guys were lugging around and running around the rocks and filming stuff.
Oh, they were huge. Yeah, they were $7,000 broadcast cameras, and we're running around Sand Hollow with these big things on our shoulders and whatnot. and at the time, cell phone footage wasn't good enough, right? It was like flip phones.
Yeah.
And then early YouTube came on, and it was just cat videos. And I'm like, I'm not a YouTube, no. So we had different platforms. We were pushing to different places early on, not even YouTube. And so, yeah, so it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, the YouTube space has definitely changed. I think some of that stigma has kind of changed with the way things have evolved.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a bit. But that was one of the things that I liked about Krawlzone was it felt like a TV show because it really was. I mean, with what you were doing with it. But the other thing is it felt like it was real as opposed to some of the other automotive programming that you would find on TV at the time. Even if it was geared towards off-road, it was kind of like structured almost like it was so heavily scripted and kind of fake, where this was raw and this was like, real.
Absolutely. We definitely filmed it that way on purpose because we're like, well, we don't want it to be contrived. We want to find the actual story. And that was kind of the documentarian in me. We wanted to find the real story. But that came with some issues because if you script out what you're going to go film, you can edit that really easy. But if you go out there and you're like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. Is anybody going to roll? Is nobody going to roll? Is somebody going to tell a good story or is nobody going to tell a good story? Right. And so then you have to go home and be like, all right, let's figure out a story for this thing. Right. And so the editing would definitely take a little bit longer. But, and I think before the term vlog ever came about, really, I look back and I'm like, oh, really? We were kind of early vloggers. We were just capturing the moment, talking about it, grab your input and just kind of chat through it. So it was kind of a cross between maybe a vlog and the old school news magazine style stuff that we were trying to hit.
See, and I think that's those elements of it, like that's what kind of pulls it to me. That's kind of, I don't know, some of that news magazine element. And then I'm also definitely pumped about doing interviews, which is what I'm kind of anchoring things with. But that's like, I think what I really like about it, because it's kind of where I wanted to go, is kind of do interviews and make it seem like that news magazine come to life type atmosphere. Because I remember as a kid, like I would read, JP and Peterson's Off-Road and all that stuff. All that's gone away. And, I think a video form is the best way to do it these days that will get people's attention. So
yeah, I totally agree. Video is the future. It's anywhere.
So I was going to ask you, maybe what were your favorite events or things that you were able to participate in with Krawlzone?
Oh gosh, we had so many good ones.
I thought you might say that. I thought, I'm asking this. He's going to say, oh, they were so good ones.
There's a handful that always stick out though. When we went out to the Big Bear Forest Fest with Larry McRae and Poison Spider and my buddy Kaw. So for anybody that doesn't know him, he's going to be a Facebook technologist.
Right.
Anyway, but we got to hike up to the cabin in the sky. And so if anybody's been out there, that's a dope place to go. The trails were all right. It's not like the most hardcore trails that we've ever been on, but the experience with the friends and being able to go hike up up to the cabin, that was really a memorable experience. A lot of the covering the Wee Rocks, the King of the Hammers, going out there and just, those are fun because it's full carnage, right? You're just watching people driving over each other or flipping and rolling, and that's just high energy. So that was always fun.
You know what I thought was a good one? As I rewatched it the other day, when you got put in the race car to go drive on the King of the Hammers.
Oh, that was a treat. That was a treat that should have never happened because it's not like I'm a hardcore driver or anything, right? But my buddy Vic Bunnis, he was racing the Everyman Challenge, and his co-pilot dipped. And so he and nobody were talking. And they're like, well, grab Mr. Krawlzone.
Yeah.
Put him in the seat. It'll be fun. It'll be a ball. And so he calls me up and he's like, hey, do you want a co-pilot? And I'm like, I'm an idiot. But if you want an idiot with you, sure, let's do it. And so I had to learn out how to run the little map thing. And I only got us lost twice, I think. That's not bad. Like I'm too bad. But yeah, but that was fun. Now there's a story we weren't able to document because we weren't able to have cameras right where we were, and it was late. We actually got stuck, I believe it was on Wrecking Ball, and we got a tire up under a rock and blew it. and we weren't going anywhere. And so we needed, finally the race was over. They called it. It was dark. And John Jacobs was in the pits. We called and said, hey, we're going to need a tire. And we're at the top of Wrecking Ball, and he's down there, got as close as he could to the bottom, and we needed to take a full-size tire up to us.
Yeah.
And they're heavy, right? You're running like 38s or 40s or something, and nobody straps it on like a backpack, runs some straps, puts it on as a backpack, and hikes all the way up to us.
Oh my God.
And everybody's like, all the pit crew and everybody that's there, like taking pictures about, oh my gosh, who's this guy? And so he gets about 2/3 of the way up, and our friend Vic, he gets there and he's like, okay, I'll take it from here. You're tired. Vic couldn't even pick it up. And John just like, get out of the way. And he just put it back on and he hiked it up there. Now, the thing that's most amazing about that is when John was in the Marine Corps, he broke his back.
Oh, wow.
And so he's got one of the strongest backs I know, but he goes into it with pain every day.
Yeah.
And he just threw a tire on his back and hiked up Wrecking Ball so that we could get down. That's probably the most amazing thing that's ever happened on a Krawlzone episode. That never got documented.
That's pretty inspiring. That sounds painful just talking about it. So, so as far as Krawlzone goes, it's been a few years since it's really been active, and obviously you've been very busy doing Space Station and other projects in life. What's the future, do you think, of Krawlzone? Is there a future, or maybe there's a future in other spaces or things you want to do?
You know, I think about it a lot because I've got 3 Jeeps. I got my Gladiator. I got my wife's, I don't know if you can call it a Jeep, her modern Cherokee. And now I've got my old YJ at home, and they just cry, especially my YJ. It's just rusting over in a corner, being like, drive me. I think about Krawlzone a lot, and more particularly because of all the friendships and the relationships I've built over the time. It's hard to not go to an event because I know I'm going to see my people, right?
Yeah.
And even Tim Ryan, who you just interviewed, he just called me up the other day, and he's like, Vernal's coming up. We should go to Vernal. So I'm like, all right, Krawlzone the way it was, I don't think it'll ever come back.
Yeah.
That's the honest point. It's had its time. In reality, a lot of the stuff that we pioneered in those early days are just what everybody else does now, you know, the kind of that vlogging style, whatever. But I do have some big plans to get back outdoors. I've got a couple of show ideas in my pocket that are just brewing, especially now that I've been here at the space station and understand the YouTube economy so much better. I'm like, oh man, I could have done so much more.
Yeah.
And so you might see something.
He spent a little time with me, and I was blown away. He's quite knowledgeable when it comes to not only is he a great storyteller, but the way things work and how to get the most out of your content. So I'm sure anything that you do will be worth tuning into, I'm sure.
I hope so. I don't go into things to make content that nobody should tune into.
Right.
It's just that the hardest thing right now is that the world is so noisy with so much content.
Yeah.
That in order to really bubble up to the top, it takes a little bit of work to get there. And so you've got to have the tenacity to really be willing to go into it.
I think that's kind of where I'm at, is that I want the content to be quality and good and something that people want to tune in to watch. Because it's like, I like doing interviews and I like going out and meeting people in the off-road industry because it's interesting to me. So it's okay. It's not a big deal. But when you're going through the process of recording it and editing it and posting it, and then, you know, you're buying cameras and lights and whatever else, microphones, you know, you'd like to at least know that somebody's actually paying attention to what you're doing.
That's right.
So I get that.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I have 10 questions. Usually at the end of the interview, we just rattle off 10 quick questions.
All right.
Some of them are repeats for everybody, and some I change depending on the interview. But what's your favorite tire?
Oh, shoot. Well, you know, I'm partial to the old General Grabbers just because that was what was on the Krawlzone Jeep when we first got started. And so not that they're better or worse than anything, but they are just, to me, iconic for how we got started. So I lean into those.
Cool. Favorite Krawlzone episode or event? We touched on a little bit, but I think.
Okay, so my favorite Krawlzone event. Oh shoot, yeah. Okay. My favorite event to go to.
Yes, that would make sense.
Is the Winter 4x4 Jamboree. That's because, let me tell you why.
Okay.
Not because it's better or worse than other events. There's some great events out there, but it started and it's led by Jeff Bieber, right? Who was the very first fan on Facebook of Krawlzone. The very first person to push like besides me and nobody.
Nice.
It was Jeff.
Yeah.
And so because that's Jeff's event, that's my favorite event.
That's a good event. Jeff's always been really good to me. I've been helping do trail guides for them for like the past, I think, 9 years.
Yeah.
1 year less than Trail Hero. Like I started right after that. I think I've been doing it for 9 years.
Nice.
But yeah, he's always been a really good guy. And I love what they do with the donation and money. And, you know, it's a good thing for public lands. And, you know, that's another thing that I want to cover on the channel is public land issues and there's never going to be enough voices stating that we need to defend our public lands and take care of it.
I agree with that. And for all of you out there listening, don't tune out when he starts talking about that stuff because it's so important. That was one thing is as soon as we started talking about it, people were like, that's not off-roading. And they would click past it. But you guys need to pay attention because we're really under attack. So
yeah, I did an episode, I think it was episode 2, was about a cleanup.
Yep.
And we went to 5 Mile and cleaned up. And I filled, in my LJ, I have the seats puller out because the kids are grown. So I said, this is a 2-seater. We don't even need this back seat. I got rid of the brackets and everything. But at the cleanup, I completely filled that with furniture and trash and baby swings. And
I can't believe how many people just throw garbage out on the trails. Yeah. It just makes me so angry.
There was 2.5 truckloads of tires and 2 dumpsters full of trash in 2 hours with about 70 people participating.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. Continuing along. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
I believe it belongs on a Hawaiian pizza if it has the Canadian bacon on it. I think those pair really well. I've seen it show up on some pepperoni pizzas. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
Seems a little bit odd to me too. Whiskey or beer or a non-alcoholic beverage of choice?
I'm a big root beer fan. Give me a root beer float any day.
I'm a Mountain Dew guy myself.
Oh, I do like Mountain Dew as well. But I'm actually off it right now. I've had to change my lifestyle. My doctor said I was going to die, and so I've had to cut out the sugar. So now it's home brewed root beer made with my own ingredients.
I started laughing because I had an interest. I feel like I had that same conversation with my doctor recently. So I was telling my wife, I said, I need to start drinking more bottled water and less of this Mountain Dew. So just so you know,
I'm going to be cranky for a remind me.
If you're going to an off-road event, would you rather be camping or at a hotel?
I personally would rather camp. My wife would rather not. So we mostly stay in a motel.
That's how I ended up with an RV.
Oh, nice.
My wife was like, we'd stay in tent when I had this big cabin tent and everything. And the 1 year it blew over at Moab and it went in the dumpster. We didn't come home with us. And okay, so next question. This one can be a hot one. You prefer Sand Hollow or Moab?
I'm going to say Sand Hollow, only because it's closer to home. That's where I do most of my wheeling. I like Moab well enough, except that their filming requirements early on were a little bit strict and it was hard to film there. So.
Yeah, I think it's still that way.
Yeah, and so anyway, I do like Sand Hollow a lot because just because it's home.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, when it comes to rock crawling, is rear steer cheating?
Oh, shoot. Oh, I don't even know if I want to get in on this one. No, I don't think it is. I think it's an advancement, but I also think it's a different category.
Yes.
Right? They can't compete against them because they're different skill sets.
Yes.
I think if I respect somebody who can get through the same trail without rear steer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know what I've seen? I've seen people compromise because they aren't competent and with their rear steer. And I've actually seen people make it harder for themselves because they're not very, they just, you know what I mean? Like, it's not helping them. I've even seen somebody roll themselves backing up because they didn't straighten their axle.
Oh, yeah. All I can say is if you suck, you suck.
If you're good just doing rear steer, that hats off to you, because it does take some talent. So that's why I say it's not cheating. And along the same lines, though, it is a different category. Depends on what we're talking about. Favorite thing to do outside of off-road or outdoors, or something that is, I mean,
Acting. Yes. I'm a performer. I like to act. So if I'm not doing that, I'm doing a show somewhere.
When you were doing Krawlzone, did you prefer and I don't mean like what's a better organization or what's better. What I mean is, did you enjoy spectating more We Rock or Ultra 4?
I never spectated either one.
You were so busy.
I always, because I really didn't get into extreme off-roading until we started Krawlzone. And so I always got the best seat in the house, and that was right there in the obstacle. They were buggying right around me, and there might be some rules because of me, because I was right there. And so, yeah. So I don't know. So from that perspective, I would have to say We Rock was better because I could just jump from place to place to place really fast.
Yeah.
Where getting from obstacle to obstacle, usually like at King of the Hammers or something like that, was really hard to get to. So
yeah, you need like a chase vehicle.
yeah, and so because of We Rock was just really tight. I always liked that.
Well, that makes sense. Okay, if you were going to build yourself a personal off-road vehicle, it could be just a weekend warrior, or it could be a rock crawler. If you're going to build something today for right now, what would you start with? You can start with a tube chassis. You can start with a Jeep. You can start with anything you want.
I'm gonna have to send you this picture. So I'm gonna start with a bus.
Hey, that's a good answer. I like creative maps.
Let's see if I can find it. For real, probably my old YJ. I'd probably start with my YJ.
Okay.
But my goal is to start that.
Okay.
But I don't know if you see that.
Send me the picture and I'll put it in the end credit.
I'll send. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to leave you guys hanging because it's actually for a project I'm serious about. And so you guys might have to have to wait and see. I'll send you a swatch.
Okay.
A corner of it.
Well, you can always send me some pictures of something else.
I'll do that. But otherwise, my YJ. I would start with my YJ, probably give him a little stretch. I don't know that I'm super duper hardcore rock crawler. I just want to, I want to go where other people can't, but some of the extreme stuff I love to film, but I don't know that I personally, until I start doing it, and then I'll change my mind.
You know what's funny is that I say that about like some of the buggy stuff, but I don't have a buggy either. So it's like, I do a lot of extreme stuff as far as a full body say. I think so. I mean, I take a 4-door JK on 9-10 trails in Sand Hollow sometimes. So that's asking for some adrenaline, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always go, well, I'm very into the Jeep scene, but I don't own a buggy. So
yeah, what you don't taste, you don't know.
You don't know. So, but the one thing I do like, and I can say as far as Jeeps, I don't see it like, a lot of the buggies that I see wheeling around are usually by themselves person. I like having more people around.
Right.
I like the part of the off-roading for me is that interaction with people. And I'm not saying that buggy guys don't, but it just seems like it's more involved in the Jeep. Like me and the wife could get together in the Jeep. I don't think I could keep her in a buggy. She already gets out the obstacles. And, which is good, she'll record them, but man, I don't think I could keep her strapped in a buggy.
Probably not.
Okay, well, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I thank you for having me up and showing me around. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
You bet.
It's cool to see what you're doing now, and it was fun to hear some stories. So if you're looking for Mr. Krawlzone, this is where he is. He's at the space station, being an animator.
Yeah, trying to make imaginary people come to life because I can't get real people to come to life.
There he is.